Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another episode of the podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest. Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the pod.
Yeah, anytime, man. We're stoked to have you on, talk about some stuff, and really see what you're doing with our community, which we love. For
Yeah,
those of
yeah,
you who. Dave, go for it, sorry.
Now, Scott is a. Are you a founder or member of Elevate Utah?
yeah. So I'm the executive director of Elevate Utah Disc Golf. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. The mission statement is that we're dedicated to growing the quality and the quantity of disc golf courses in the state of Utah. So we kind of separate ourselves a little bit from a lot of other nonprofits that are more focused on players that are playing the game. We're focusing on the spaces that we play within.
Nice, that's awesome.
That is
And
awesome.
you guys have been busy recently. I know there's been a lot of new development of courses going up and new spaces being found.
Yeah, I started this nonprofit just about a year ago to the day. Before then, I had Elevate Utah in a LLC just to protect me from liability while I was building the Wasatch Wonder. So this whole journey began. Uh, I'd say it began right around 2020. I'm a Utah native. I grew up in South Jordan back in the early 80s when South Jordan was just a dust pit and just kind of watched it grow. And then in the mid 2000s, my wife got a job transfer to Minneapolis. And so we decided to take that opportunity and head out to Minneapolis and go enjoy it. And if anybody knows anyone who has ever moved to Minneapolis, you get stuck there. As soon as you get there, it's like this black hole, and you can't leave. It's this cycle of loving the summers and dreading and hating the winters, and then as soon as the first cherry blossoms hit, you forget that winter was ever a thing, and it's summertime again. And if you pull up UDisc and you look for like hot zones of disc golf, you'll see that Minneapolis is one of those spots where it's just so I learned this game while I was there. I picked up my first disc. I think it was must have been 2015, 2016 maybe, and just kind of fell in love with the sport and just thought that everywhere was like Minneapolis, where there was just disc golf courses like in every city. Sometimes cities have multiples, and they're all high quality with great tee pads and benches
Hmm.
and bag holders and nice baskets and they all get mowed and the cities take care of them. Um, but in 2020, during the pandemic, my wife and I decided to move back home to be closer to our parents. And just like a lot of people in 2020, where you just kind of look around and you're just like, what are we doing? Why are we here?
Yeah.
So we left our friends in Minneapolis and left all the great courses in Minneapolis and came back to what I called the desert of disc golf, which is Utah. And back then it was the fort was just coming online and things were just starting to get moving, but it wasn't fast enough for me. So I in fact I remember I moved and I was talking to one of my old college or one of my old high school buddies, and I was in my garage and I was kind of lamenting the fact that the disc golf here was just so much like not as awesome as Minneapolis, and he's been trying to get me into mountain biking, and he's like, "Well, I guess you're gonna have to start a new hobby. I guess let's go mountain biking." And I'm not kidding. I looked him right in the eye and I said, "Nope, I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna build some courses."
Hmm.
And about a year later, I opened up the Wasatch Wonder up in Midway, and then Tetons opened up, and Draper is set to open soon, and we've helped remodel Creekside, and Art Dye is moving along, and this
Hmm.
new Bingham Creek course is opening up, and West Jordan is set to open up another 18-hole course, and it's just one after the other after the other after the other, and it's been just a whirlwind.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I started playing disc golf after I moved out to Utah. I'm originally from New Jersey. So when I started playing here and I went back home and met up with some old friends that also picked up the hobby during the pandemic, there's maybe like 3 or 4 courses within an hour of where I grew up. So I had always thought that Salt Lake had a lot of courses relative to the area, just because there's not that much space back east for those kinds of things.
Hmm.
But then when I saw the whole article come out about like courses per population, it does feel like Utah has a big like disc golf community, but like you said, like courses are kind of really spread out here, and not a whole lot of them are maintained, or like they were put in a while ago and just kind of left there.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, I
awesome to
mean,
see.
you look at Creekside, and Creekside has historically been one of the very busiest courses in the world, simply because it's so centrally located to so many people, and then also it doesn't have the plug that you can pull people out of, because you've got Roots, which is close by, but any given day of the week, if you guys have a choice between Roots and Creekside, you're probably going to choose Creekside.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I would.
Same with Taylorsville. So my whole argument is we have these spaces, let's improve them. Roots probably needs a whole fresh redesign. That thing was designed when it was a par 3 golf course, and it had trees everywhere, and so most of those trees are gone.
Hmm.
So we need to take some pretty good steps to ensure the long lasting presence of these places, which includes embracing modern designs, which is desert landscaping. Like I'd love to see Roots have a couple $100,000 of Salt Lake City money poured into it to reduce the amount of turf out there, increase the natural vegetation, embrace the desert, and plant a bunch of trees and drip irrigate them. You see all sorts of different investments all over the United States on these courses with retaining walls and improvements, and we just really haven't seen that in Utah yet.
Yeah.
No, we haven't. And I, coming from Colorado, I started playing disc golf out here in Utah. But I did a quick trip to Colorado last summer. I was there for about 2 weeks, and I look on UDisc and there's a map of 10, 15 courses within 30 minutes of downtown Denver. And I look at all, like, UDisc has their new ratings like green, blue, black, double black, and you could go to a Taylorsville style course that's short, very beginner friendly, but you could also go to some of these harder courses just 5 minutes down the road from that. And I feel like we're really lacking that. I think Taylorsville is a great open beginner friendly course, and it has the opportunity. We put a few trees, especially that back nine, put a few trees in that back nine and make it more playable. I think Taylorsville could be, another Creekside. Roots is a great course as well. We just don't have the landscape for it as a place like Denver does. We're concealed in this tiny valley, whereas Denver, yeah, it's a valley, but it goes on forever and ever and ever. And I've seen Denver go from, a medium-sized city to really blowing up, and the places that we'd go hike in the summer are now, neighborhoods. So,
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good point about us being hemmed in by the mountains here, and that creates a scarcity of space for us, and I think it's very important for all of us to realize that once we give up something, it's going to be very hard for us to get it back. And with Salt Lake County looking to remove the Taylorsville course, it's like if that happens, it either gives us a really good opportunity of saying, okay, great, we're already at the lowest per capita of disc golf holes per person in the United States, and you're taking 18 holes away. Meanwhile, you have half of your survey respondents saying we want more disc golf. So you've got half of your constituents saying you want more, yet you're going to take it away. So we got to remember that our public voices are very important, and they can be heard. And because of how small this valley is, that we do need to fight for these spaces.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think Utah too has a very passionate disc golf community, in that like even you see some of these pro tour events that are kind of empty, where they're out in the middle of like Kansas or somewhere like that where there's not a big population. And when they had Worlds at the fort, it was just packed in with people. Like few thousand people showed up to the events every day. Like it was crazy up there.
Yeah, it's interesting, it's like I go disc golfing a lot and I tend to see a lot of the same faces and then
Hmm.
I'll go watch that Worlds and I'll pause it and see if I can see any of my buddies on it
Yeah,
and I don't recognize anybody.
yeah.
It's like
Hmm.
I don't know who these people are.
Y-
But we have so many, we have so many people playing that we just don't know about. You look at so we're hosting a work day at the new Draper course this Saturday. Calling it Death to Thistle, where we're going to go out there and murder a bunch of thistle. And I've got the registration open on Disc Golf Scene right now. It's a free registration. You can go and register for it. But the names on there, I don't recognize most of them, and most of them don't have a Disc Golf Scene account. They must have just signed up for Disc Golf Scene just to come to this work day. It's like
Nice.
so there are people in this community that are paying attention, that are wanting to help, that aren't necessarily tournament players, they or in the scene and involved to the level that you two and myself are.
Hmm.
Well, and I think it helps too having something in your community, right? Like the little Dis on Six course in Midvale. I see people out there that they might have found a disc in the road and they just felt like going to play one day, right? And like try it out kind of thing. And if you told them, oh, you have to drive from Midvale up to Roots, they're probably not going to do that on purpose.
Right. Yeah, it's about getting these spaces within people's communities that really makes a difference. I mean, you think about the Tetons in West Jordan. You guys have been out to play that little nine holer.
I haven't
We
yet. Dave has.
I have.
Yeah, I mean that place is breeding a new generation of disc golfers that live in that part of the valley, and
Hmm.
and now they have a whole 18-hole course right next door to it. That
Hmm.
that's a grown up like big tournament course.
Hmm.
So that's what's exciting about it. And I was actually just talking to my daughter who goes to Alta the other day about this Draper disc golf course because Draper is installing a state of the art disc golf course in the Jordan River Valley. And I was kind of joking to her like, I'm gonna try to start a disc golf team at Corner Canyon and try to get a high school disc golf team going. I mean, Draper has a disc golf course now,
Yeah,
so why not? Let's get one
Heck
going
yeah.
at Bingham for South Jordan. Let's get one going out in West Jordan for their new course. You know, like maybe that's a good way of growing it.
totally.
That'd be awesome, especially being able to like if you guys are able to like donate discs to the high school or something like that, so they don't even have to pay for some of the stuff, like to really get it started and going.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's Scott. I love that because growing up, I was always in sports teams, and throughout, from my very youngest days all the way through high school, and even after high school, I was in sports teams, and it was a lot of donation, and that's how the community grew. First off, right? Like, yeah, I had this soccer community, and then that got pulled into everything else I did. Someone from that community was doing this, and then doing this, and then it would all come back together. And starting even a small disc golf team through a high school or middle school is a great idea. And I love what Ben's doing at another round. He made his team. I didn't know anyone when I first moved out here, and now I feel like I have this whole community on my back just because of this sport and the disc golf team. So I love that.
yeah, and Collegiate Nationals was just a couple weekends ago in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and Utah had I think 3 teams there.
I know there was a
So
BYU player. I think the U sent a player, and
yeah, well, they send teams, so
hmm
so it because it's all a team game.
yeah,
So I think each team has to be 4 people,
okay,
and so I think UVU sent a team, BYU sent a team, and University of Utah sent a team.
that's
So
awesome.
it's like if it's happening at the collegiate level, there's no reason you can't just copy what they're doing and move it down to the high school level. And
Hmm.
and if there was high schools that had teams, then those high schools could put pressure on municipalities to make their courses better.
Yeah, you'd have a
So
lot more people coming out to it.
yeah, that's just kind of a little insight into kind of how my brain works, because it's
Hmm.
like every angle that we can take is an angle that should be explored and looked into. One of my issues is that there's only one of me, and I haven't done what Birdcage or Another Round or Distracted has done, where they've started a team, because this this work is so much more, it's so much more nuanced, and it's I think it's hard to embrace a team. It's almost like bringing people into this is more work than me just doing the work,
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
because
Do you
there's
want
so much
to?
so much going on, and there's so many moving pieces, and that's not to say that people haven't been involved. There's been lots of people that at some point and some sliver of time have made a huge impact into Utah disc golf. Um, and it's just there's a maelstrom of energy happening in Utah disc golf, and it's just really exciting to see.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the impact grant that you got?
Yeah, sure. So, um, the Elevate Utah Impact Grant Program. So this was born out of a fundraiser that I ran last year for the WOW. Um, the WOW tournament. Did you guys play that WOW pop up?
No, we didn't.
Okay, so I ran a tournament up at the top of Wasatch Mountain State Park, right behind Brighton, between Brighton and the Wonder. There's a piece of property up there at about 9,000 feet of elevation that we have pseudo permission from Wasatch Mountain State Park manager to put a disc golf course in there, but the timing's a little bit off because of um, a new mountain bike trail that's connecting Park City to the WOW.
Okay.
So the homeowners up there are all super sensitive right now because there's mountain bike trails connected, so people are just whizzing by their houses. So
Mhm.
we want to put a disc golf course up there, but the timing is off. So I raised some pretty good money from that tournament for that course last year,
Mhm.
but unfortunately we can't use it for that course for another several years as we let things simmer down up there. So I have this cash in the nonprofit, and I was trying to figure out how to get it back into the community, and what's the best way of getting it back into the community. Um, so I came up with this impact grant program, which is modeled after the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant Program. The Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant Program is a state funded um, nonprofit that exists to do the exact same thing that I'm doing with the disc golf community, but they do it at a bigger level.
Okay.
So um, and this really popped off in 2020. 2019, they had a budget of I think it was 7 or 8 million. 2020, they had a budget of 16 million. 2021, it went up to 21 million, and this year it's up to 21 million again. So essentially, how that works is any nonprofit or city can go to the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant Office and say, "Hey, I've got a project. I want to build a BMX pump track at this park. Um, I've got $35,000. Unfortunately, it's going to cost me 70,000, but I've got 35. Can you give me 35?" And the Utah Outdoor Office of Recreation will say, "Yeah, sure. Fill out this application. Show me why you think people will use it. Give me some
Mhm.
letters of support from your community members. Give me a timeline for how you're going to do this. Give me your budget breakdown. Essentially, just like show me your project, and we'll fund it." And that's what they do. So last year they spent some good money on disc golf last year. Um, and this year there's several submitted for that as well. So what I did was I took that program and essentially reverse engineered it for us. So it allows really any social club, and or it allows any nonprofit or any municipality to come to Elevate Utah, and you go to elevateut.com/impact, and that'll tell you all the details of this. And there's an application you fill out. There's a deadline. The deadline is June 1st this year, and so you essentially fill out the application. You show me your budget, and then once we have all of that stuff that we've asked you for, it goes to a scoring committee. And there's several people in the community that have volunteered for this job, where I've also developed a scoring rubrics for them, So they have a rubrics that it's basically just a list of questions with point values assigned to them, so that they can go through and they can have this thing up on the right side, and
Mm-hmm.
they can have your grant application up on the left side, and they say, okay, for 50 points, do they have a detailed budget? Yes, okay, 50 points, blah 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 blah. So they just go down the line and they score it, and then the highest scores projects get awarded the cash.
That's
So it's kind of
awesome.
a non-biased way of us as a public entity to disseminate cash into the community for improvements. So things like some of the things that I would be happy to fund, and that I think would score well are because we have a few of them. We have one that's $7,500. That's called the Pioneer Impact Grant, and that's for the funding of a new disc golf course. So essentially, that's how much baskets cost at about 18. And so we'll buy baskets essentially, or we'll
Mm-hmm.
do something else. But it's $7,500 cash, and then there's two other ones that are called um, what are they? Are they enhancement grants? There's two other that are they're at $2,500 each, and those are for existing courses to enhance the the disc golf course. So, uh, for instance, Art Dye could use a new kiosk so that you could see where you're at and have a community bulletin board.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that is really what I'm looking at trying to invest in. But there's a catch. It has to be matched with cash from the municipality, and I think that that's essentially where the power is.
Okay.
Because if we can have someone approach their city and say, look, I've got this idea. I want to build a kiosk and put a bench on hole 6 and hole 12 and hole 17, and I want to use the Elevate Utah Impact Grant Program. They'll give us $2,500, but you guys have to give us $2,500 too. What that does is it creates a triangle of buy-in. It's got the nonprofit on one end, it's got the community member on the other end, and then up at the top we've got the municipality, and it creates this triangle of communication between the three of us, so that we can really make good decisions for these spaces that we're occupying. And I think that that's what's really important. It's
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily the cash. It's that the cash is a good way of leveraging a relationship and starting the conversation of a relationship, because it shows that we have skin in the game. It
Mm-hmm.
shows that we're not just asking for something, that we're asking for something and willing to back it up with money that's been raised from our community.
That's
Nice, dude.
awesome.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, so we've got $15,000 that's committed to that this year. My hope is to double that next year. It's really hard to do that though, because if you're doubling anything, you need to double what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and doubling how you're getting money in. And I quickly realized that running tournaments for me, I think is a good way of me burning out. I love running tournaments, and I think I'm probably pretty good at it. But the unfortunate thing is that it takes so much energy and so much attention to detail and passion and drive to make a tournament good. To not just run a tournament, but to run a tournament to the point where you you can walk away and say that was awesome. It
Yeah.
takes so much time and energy, and so what I'm hoping this year will happen is that there'll be other other organizations that already run tournaments that will step up and tag one of their tournaments as a Elevate Utah fundraiser tournament.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we just got done with the Dragonfly Royale this last Saturday. They had 91 players come out, and it's an XC tier rated fundraiser tournament, and it's a CEP rated fundraiser tournament. So essentially, what that means is that the PDGA has a designation for running tournaments that benefit charities. So it's a program. It's called the Charity Endowment Program, and that allows anyone to run a tournament to benefit a nonprofit, and that allows the tournament to skip paying the PDGA fees. So it's usually about $2 per player to run a PDGA tournament, and
Okay.
that goes right to the PDGA.
Yeah.
And if you run a CEP rated fundraiser tournament, you can tag Elevate Utah, and instead of paying that $2 per player to the PDGA, you get to pay it to Elevate Utah as a donation. So that's a really good way of raising funds, is just tagging these tournaments. So the tunnel runners have offered to run one of these in conjunction with what just happened out at the Dragonfly Royale, and 30 Out as well has said that they'd run one. I'd love to get three or four more of those scheduled too, because
Mm-hmm.
if you're running a C tier, you might as well just X C tier it, and then everyone can have beers while they play, and the nonprofit gets to benefit. So I don't see why we wouldn't just tag a few of those and keep some of that PDGA money in Utah.
Yeah. Or how much money like is Elevate Utah making on like an annual basis from events like that, charities like that?
So last year, our main um, revenue was tournaments,
Mm-hmm.
mainly the WoW and the two tournaments at the Wonder. Those were our bread and butter. Um, the WoW brought in, I put up there that it brought in just over 10,000.
Wow,
Dang.
Yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
that's mainly because of MVP. Because I reached out to them, told them what I was doing, and said I'd love to 100% benefit from every entry fee. So if
Mm-hmm.
you could just send me the player packs, that would be great. And they sent me like 6 grand worth of stuff.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so they've really helped me out, and you can't just continue to ask for that, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, but with this impact grant program, I'm hoping what it does is it shows the community that if money comes in, it is going to go out,
Yeah.
you know,
Which
and that
I real quick, Scott, I think we have seen that with not only the Wonder, but the Creekside as well. Like Creekside used to be, we all knew what Creekside was. It was like there's a few homeless people living there. The course flow, ebb and flow really wasn't that bad, but it wasn't this, you know, court. It wasn't a destination course, right? And then you guys come in, redo not the whole course, but you redo the parts of the course that needed love and needed attention, and now it was already, but now it's blowing all the other courses in the Salt Lake Valley out of contention because it is such a good course. And the new
yeah,
baskets, the new tee pads. I know we don't have signs up quite yet, but the new benches, like that course is something that I have really like. I go back and I'm like, wow, I remember when this hole still used to play like this, and it was kind of ebbed and flow weirdly, but now it feels like a disc golf course, like it should.
yeah, and I was tripping on this T pad, and like
Mm-hmm.
The crack on Old Hole 14 over the
Oh
river there that
God.
was like a downhill crack that like yeah. I think my score got like 4 strokes better just by having new baskets.
yeah, yeah. I think Creekside still has a ways to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's not exactly where I thought it was going to be when we started this project.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think Salt Lake County could do a better job at finishing projects. I don't want to hate, and I don't want to be negative, but they were very quick to answer the call with a lot of excitement, which I was very appreciative of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I felt like some corners were cut, and I wish the T signs would have turned out a little bit better. I wish that we could have been a little bit more involved in some of the finer details of that project. Because we were able to make a pretty good impact right away, but there's still some things that we asked for that haven't been completed yet, and we're still asking for them to this day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like yes, we did it. That project got completed, but no, I actually kind of view that as a I actually kind of view Creekside as a failure of the nonprofit because it it didn't live up to my expectations of the project.
Okay. Do you want to expand more on that?
Well, yeah, sure. It's all about communication, right?
Yeah.
And it's about communicating effectively the needs of a project. And people don't know what they don't know, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so if something doesn't get done in a project, then there's really two or maybe three reasons why. One, it wasn't communicated effectively that it needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it got communicated, but there's no budget, 3, they just have no interest in doing it,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
I can't really think of any other reason why something wouldn't be included in a final project. Um,
Have
and
have you been able to take those like shortcomings that you found from Creekside and use them for the proposal for the Draper course and kind of work with the city a little bit better going forward with that one?
yeah, well, I mean, it's Draper's a little bit different because Draper is a well-funded, highly effective organization. You know, so
Mhm.
they're a little bit different because they have leeway to take projects like this on without feeling like their heads are on fire. You know,
Mhm.
um, and so I think that when you're dealing with a project like Creekside, I think you have to understand that the people you're going to be working with view our amenity as a checklist on a check mark on their checklist, and that they've got baseball fields to deal with, and they've got the opening of new regional parks to deal with, and they've got pickleball players that it's like I'm sure that their email inbox is blown up every day by
Yeah.
everyone, and so I I think that I probably could have been better with the Creekside installation by being a little bit more forceful at certain times and less lackadaisical at some times, because I honestly felt a little starstruck at first, being like, okay, well, this is actually happening. Like, I'm actually walking around with the county right now talking about where these T pads are going to go, and they're listening to me that they need to be a certain size, and they're actually going to like make our T pads like 2 by 4 meters. This is awesome. So it's almost like I was a little bit nervous about asking for too much, you
Yeah.
know?
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, having those new T pads that size has been, I think, a game changer for a lot of people. I mean, even going to some different courses now and playing rounds and being like, wow, these feel tiny compared to what I'm used to at Creekside. Like it's
Yeah,
a nice like standard I think to have too
it sure
on some of
is.
these courses.
It sure is, and it helps more with not just having enough space to throw, but when you think about the puddles that are out at roots in front of the tee pads where they've had to put those brick pavers down,
Mhm.
Hmm.
and the soil compaction that happens behind the tee pads. Like, if you've got enough space to put people on it, on this big concrete surface, they're not going to start their run-ups off of the tee pad, or the majority of them won't. There's still the outliers. There's still the James Conrads. There's still, the Greg Sorensens who will start off of the tee pad and have a nice big run-up, and that's fine. But the majority of us are now starting our run-up on the tee pad and finishing it on the tee pad,
Yeah.
and what that creates is then the the user is on concrete the entire time, and so when they're done with it, when they're done with their throw, they don't fall off the tee pad and then walk around the tee pad when they're done, or they're using the playing surface for their feet instead of the surrounding ground, and so it's the grass will be able to grow better. There'll be less soil compaction and all that type of stuff that just creates problems.
Yeah. Totally.
Nice. I know you got what's the hole of the week that you guys are sponsoring this week?
So this week we're out at Bingham Creek, uh, at the new Bingham Creek course, which is a county course down in South Jordan.
Mhm.
It's hole 16. It was chosen because a lot of you bums don't get out there because you live so close to Creekside. So I'm trying to get you guys out of your rooms and out of Creekside to go somewhere else and see something else.
Yeah.
Um, but it's hard to motivate people to go to a course that doesn't have a ton of trees. They are working on it. That is a brand new course. It did get freshly mowed, and they are fine tuning some details that I'm trying to help the club through. And so that thing does have a bright future, though. I mean, have either of you played it?
Yeah.
We went down there probably what 4 months ago when it like very first opened up.
Mm.
I think we
Yeah.
saw the announcement maybe like 2 days, and we went down 2 days after. People are like baskets are in, courses
Yeah.
open, kind of
The
thing.
jungle.
It was a jungle tumble. It was right before that tumbleweed storm blew through Utah as well.
Yeah,
So
right.
like
The,
we
the
were
buried
throwing
daybreak homes.
Yeah,
Yeah. It
we were
was.
we were
It,
throwing discs and losing them in tumbleweeds everywhere and everything else. So we haven't been back since the cleanup.
Okay, so it's pretty clean now. It plays very well. Did you play the whole thing, or did you quit
I think we
halfway through?
stopped at
We eight,
9. I think
eight
we
or
stopped
nine.
at 8 or 9, and then we skipped to 17 and 18.
Yeah, I
Because I think it was 10 through like 14. It seemed like the bushes were like up to my chest, and I'm like, I don't want to lose a disc today. Um, and we just, I think at that
We
point
were
we weren't ready because I think it was hole 8 or 9, the downhill, kind of
7.
like 7
yeah
maybe
7.
7. We looked for we threw two. We both threw two discs, and I think it took a combined 25 minutes to find all four discs
Yeah,
because
not worth it.
those shrubs were like up to here, and you're digging your way through. So
Yeah,
It
so it's whole of the week's there right now. It's moved up to the North Fort for this following week, so that'll be, I think, on Wednesday that starts. We have two signs, and there was a little bit of a miscommunication, so we have two whole of the weeks right now. So
nice.
nice.
we'll head up to North Fort. I think it's hole 12. So the NADGT is up there. Whole of the week, if anybody doesn't know, it's a collaboration between Another Round Salt Lake and Elevate Utah. We're trying to capture an ace on film, because aces on Instagram go everywhere, and we really want people to see some of our awesome topography here, and an ace with the mountains in the background would just be awesome.
Yeah.
And Ben from Another Round's willing to put up $100 for it, $50 for the nonprofit donation, and $50 for store credit. And then just heard from Cody, and he said he'd do the same thing at Distracted. So, um, and then Weston Ringer for Birdcage said the same thing. So all of a sudden we're at $150 store credit to, well, $50 on each store
Yeah,
if you get a
Nice.
if you snag an ace,
that's
and then
awesome.
$150 to Elevate Utah. So we really want to capture one. So I please encourage everyone. And even if you don't capture an ace, and even if you suck, we've had some people that have been posting these things that have just sucked, and it's just fine because
Yeah,
they're having fun, they're smiling, they're playing the game,
yeah,
and that's what the whole thing's about, is getting out into our public spaces and throwing some frisbees and having a good time.
yeah.
Well, that was the other week when it was at Creekside there at New Hole 9. I threw mine right into the river. I,
No, not only did he
I
throw it into the river, Scott. I gotta tell you, I've seen Dave throw a lot of really good shots and really bad shot, and this was so good that it was bad. He threw a mid range like 350 feet into the river, and I'm just like, dude, like that was crushed. And it was like the coolest thing ever because it was like, wow, Dave found this new power in disc golf, but he was 150 feet past the basket in the water, and we were just sitting there laughing for 10 minutes trying to fish his disc out of the water. It was so fun.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a similar throw on that during Creekside Open this year. I just I carried the whole river and went onto the road, like, oh, like,
on the other
river.
side.
Yeah.
I carried the river and went all the way over by 12's tee, like behind 12's tee pad, and
Yeah.
went over the bridge and onto the road.
Wow. That's
Jeez,
crazy. That is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Cool.
that's wild.
I'm gonna show the people your website here real quick. So the Impact Grant Program, we talked about that. Um, there are links and everything on here, correct, Scott?
Yeah, I think if you go to the website and just dick around, you'll find most of the things you want to find.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do a pretty good job of trying to link everything together whenever I post a blog article and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory.
You
Yeah.
guys have like a mailing list for everybody if they want to like know what's going on, keep up to date on everything. Like,
Yeah,
what's
so
the best way?
you can go and hit the take action button and fill that out, and that'll give you an opportunity to give us your phone number and tell us what you want to help with. We've got a pretty good list of people who want to help with things, and All that really does is it allows you to get email notifications when a new blog post goes up. But if you're on social media and stuff, you're going to be notified of that anyways. So um, it is really good though for me to have numbers, and it does help keep me going. Whenever I get a new subscriber to the site, it's always one of those dopamine hits. I'm sure you guys have the same thing when you look at your play counts and you're like, oh look, we went from you know 280,000 to 287,000 this week.
We
Look
had
at
Yeah,
us, we're up.
in fangirled a little bit earlier
oh,
when
I fangirled so
E-
hard
Ezra liked one of our stories,
Oh, wow.
because I
and
I told Ben at the shop, I was like, hey man, listen, if Ezra wins if Ezra wins Jonesboro, I will buy 2 Ezra nukes right now. And then Davey was like, I'll buy 4. So we had 6 Ezra nukes sitting on the counter, and Ben's just like, go Ezra, go Ezra, go Ezra, and he ended up getting second, but we were like, I love Ezra as a player. I think he's hilarious, and he's also a really
Yeah.
good disc golfer. So yeah,
Hmm.
when Dave texted me that, I did fangirl a little bit. So
Yeah. Well, that's fun. Good,
yeah,
good for you. You're famous.
we're trying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So should we talk about the Draper course?
yeah, let's do it. I have this video up. Go for it whenever you're ready.
Yeah. So Draper's, this thing's kind of a live one. They went after the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant, just like I was talking about before. They went out there last year, and the way this thing got done was, um, I reached out to them. I had this idea of a disc golf course in a certain spot, and so I just kind of sent an email and said, "Hey, I'm Scott. This is what I've been doing. I built a course up in Midway, and I've got an idea for a piece of property that you have." And made one of my nice presentations and took it to them, and they said, "Oh, yeah, this is great. We love it, but we don't own that piece of property." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And they're like, "Well, what about this piece of property?" And I said, "Oh, okay, sure, let's do that." So I helped them understand how much it was going to cost. We came up with a number. That number was a hundred thousand bucks to
Wow.
install this place, which turns out was not enough. I think we're at about 135,000 right now.
Wow.
But mainly that overage is because they decided that they wanted to irrigate it,
Oh, okay.
and so that's the cost of tying in irrigation to to the street. So it's a very exciting thing. In fact, because of that, this is kind of a groundbreaking, pioneering effort where a municipality has gone after Utah state money to install a disc golf course to the extent of irrigating it and planting trees. So, what we're doing there is just incredibly exciting because we're making a park.
Mhm.
We're custom building a park for disc golfers,
Yeah.
and everyone should be taking note of what we're doing down there because it's it's revolutionary. I can't think of another course in the world really that has decided to build a disc golf course from nothing really.
Yeah.
Like they're irrigating it and we're planting trees. Although the first iteration of trees is it's 21 trees and 21 shrubs, and we're breaking that into 7 different holes. So 7 holes will get 3 trees and 3 shrubs, and those will be strictly for the tee pad areas because it's
Okay.
it's pretty it's pretty open and there's not a ton of trees out there.
Yeah.
Um,
are they all going to be native?
yeah, so there's 4 different types of trees that we can plant down there. One of them is the juniper, which I think would be pretty good for fairways or greens.
Hmm.
Um, Not really good for shade. Uh, we've got the hackberry, I think it is, and then we've got the um, box elder, like a version of the box elder,
Mhm.
and then one other one I forget. But they're all fast growing, hardy trees that grow between 30 and 40 feet
Nice.
tall with 20-foot wide diameters. So people are gonna, I think, judge this course a little harshly at first because they're gonna go out there and they're gonna be like, well, there's no trees,
Mhm.
and they're right. There's not a lot of trees, but you got to think about this in the 10-year vision. You got to think about this for our kids. we're building something that's going to last a long time. And in the meantime, we'll be able to enjoy it and we'll be able to watch it grow. But it is going to take some time.
Yeah.
So Elevate Utah and a nonprofit called Tree Utah is helping that process along. Tree Utah is a local Utah nonprofit that plants trees in Utah, and they
Mhm.
do that fostering very tight relationships with nurseries across Utah, and they're essentially able to get these wonderful trees for very very cheap. And then what they do is they ask for match. So they say, hey, Draper, we want to install $15,000 worth of trees in your property. We want you to do $15,000 worth of trees too, and we'll plant them all. And you guys
Okay.
buy them at our low cost. So that's what we're doing out there is Elevate Utah and Tree Utah together are going after our own Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant to fund additional tree installation and to extend that irrigation, and that's huge
Awesome.
too. So
That's
so Draper's it's essentially putting the arteries down for the water and starting the growth. And then two local Utah nonprofits are taking the torch from there, and with the money that they've collected from the public, and saying we're planting more trees down here.
Yeah.
that's so awesome, dude. I feel like a lot of times those municipalities love to do the whole like, here's a piece of property, we don't want anything to do with it. You guys can, make a course if you want out here, but we're not gonna do much. So to hear that Draper is like putting that effort in towards it is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And like I know Ian and I are both very outdoorsy people. Like we both do a lot of stuff outside. So to hear like they're taking care of the green space and everything is amazing.
They're excited. They're not only taking care of it; they're excited.
That's awesome.
They're every single time I talk to them, they're pumped to be doing what they're doing.
Mhm.
And I think that goes back to them being well funded and well organized, and having the mental space to be able to take a project like this on. I think it's a testament to what can happen if we fund our park systems appropriately
Hmm.
Yeah.
and give them the space to operate.
Yeah.
Well, and it sounds like from the way you described it, it's definitely going to be a space that people are excited to go out and use too, right? Like you said, in right off the bat, it might get judged a little harshly, but as it goes on, people see that like, oh, they're taking care of the trees are growing. You know, we're not having Russian olives fall all over the place like at Creekside that, aren't native to the land and everything.
Mhm.
And it's like you see it as part of your community growing over the years and you get excited about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, what's particularly amazing about this is that they're hiring a full-time employee this year to take care of the disc golf course.
Oh
So
wow.
it's part of their seasonal staff. So he starts tomorrow, and his job is 50-50 split between taking care of the disc golf course. So he gets 20 hours a week on the disc golf course
Mhm.
taking care of things, and 20 hours a week out on paved trails, just taking care of the paved trails. So what that means is that there'll be someone there for 20 hours a week doing all the little things and doing all the big things, mowing it. And they bought a brand new John Deere tractor, and this kid gets to mow the course with this awesome John Deere tractor.
That's awesome.
So it's like there's it's going to come a long way very quickly. And if you think about all of our disc golf courses, and if you think about if every single one of our courses, if we had a public servant that was paid to be there 20 hours a week, how much better they'd be year in and year out, because they would have someone there picking up trash and making sure the trash receptacles get to the pickup,
Yeah.
and pruning the trees, and making sure that the trees are watered and grow, and making sure the irrigation works. I mean, there's so many small little problems at Creekside that could be fixed if someone was looking at that property for 20 hours a week
Yeah.
trying to
Well,
fix
yeah.
all the
I mean,
problems.
think about all the times the sprinklers broke up at Roots and just like stayed on for 20 hours and then you have a pond in the middle of Roots. Like that's happened multiple times now that I know of up there. And it's just like, oh, cool. Well, we're not playing hole one or hole four today because,
Because it's a fountain, because we'll get
yeah.
an enema.
Yeah. Scott, we just finished this video, and I gotta say, this course looks amazing, man. I love that
Yeah, and
there's
that yeah.
options for par threes and par fours on the course. There's multiple tee pads for holes. This property looks beautiful. It looks amazing. Um, my one question would be, do you know what holes the trees are going up on? Like the first set of trees.
Yeah, so the first set of trees will go up on hole one. Will get the trees by the tee pad because it helps welcome players in. Hole two will get um, trees as well,
Okay.
and then hole five gets trees because it's close to where the water comes in.
Yep.
Same with hole 16 will get trees. And then hole 8 gets trees by the tee pad, and hole 8 also gets trees by the fairway because we want to. It's close to the walking path, so we want to provide a little bit of separation there.
Okay.
And then hole 15 gets trees.
Hole 15. Okay. Let me
Yeah, so
pull
just
those up, dude. Yeah, this course looks awesome. It really does.
yeah. And then
Um.
so all the trees that Draper are putting in is for shade and just initial structure. And then all the trees that Elevate Utah and Tree Utah will put in will be for the long-term success of the disc golf course. So we'll put trees. We want to put trees all along the walking paths, so that we provide some separation between disc golfers and the people on the walking paths because those walking paths are actually surprisingly busy, being the Jordan River. Like
Yeah.
people zip by, people are on their one wheel, people are on their scooters, all sorts of traffic goes through there.
Totally.
Horses go through there, so it's like we want to do that. But then also we want to shape some of these fairways, and it's going to be kind of weird just plopping a tiny little tree out there for the first couple years. But these are
Hmm.
fast growing hardy trees, and within 3 or 4 years, I think that we'll have some additional shape out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw in the video there's stakes along the side marking the OB. In the video, it's pretty obvious. Are those stakes gonna stay there long term?
Yeah, so those stakes will be there for the first couple years and basically until they rot, and then we'll have to figure out what to do with them from there.
Okay.
The hope is to have this course be something that we don't have in Utah, which is some a course where you have to hit your lines and you have to stick your shots. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's not a lot of skips out there because the ground's so native, but
Yeah.
we really want to be able to test distance, test accuracy at distance is what we're going for out there because um, the course has changed a little bit since this fly through. Since then, it's gone from I think 6,700 feet to 7,200 feet.
Oh
So
wow.
in its tournament position. This course is a big course. It's
Yeah.
par 57. It's a big course in its tournament position, and we're really hoping to be able to test that because we just don't have a lot of that. The new Bingham Creek Regional Park is actually kind of a good test at distance too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but not a lot of out of bounds there, and this has a lot of out of bounds. It's going to be curious to see how those stakes survive the public, you know, recreating in there and
Yeah.
playing. Um, but I'm not sure if on that video that it has the fences installed yet.
No.
But yeah, so we do have some fences installed out there on some of the fairways to denote some out of bounds line too, and it's big like timber buck and rail fence.
Oh yeah, I did see one of those. What
Hole
hole
two
was it?
probably. Yeah, hole two.
Hole two.
Yeah, so hole two has that, hole six has that, and hole 14 has that, and hole 10 and hole 12 has out of bounds fencing.
You see it on hole 10 here.
Yeah, hole 10. Yeah, hole 10. There's a cat that likes to sit on top of that fence and survey his land. And before that, he didn't have a fence to sit on. Now he can sit on a fence and try to kill the gophers out there, which is great.
That's awesome.
We're worried about those gophers eating our trees.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's happening. Any more questions about Draper?
No, I'd love to see what's going on with that property. I'm definitely, like I said, I'm out of town on midweek this week, but if I can make it back by Saturday, how long are you guys going to be out there
Yeah,
this
so
weekend?
so Death to Thistle happens from 9 to 1, and it's an Earth Day celebration. Draper's putting it on together, so we didn't get to choose the day, um, but it coincidentally falls on UDisc's National Course Cleanup Day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so it's actually a pretty good thing. So we're out going to murder Thistle from 9 to 1, and the idea is simple. You show up, you take a shovel, and you go out and you just dig up thistle. In fact, I was out there today and I saw some Draper seasonal employees out there on hole 6 digging up thistle. So
Awesome.
they've already gotten started, and they're getting two groups of people to come out too. So there'll be three different groups of people out there, and we've already got some pretty good registration and RSVPs on it. I'm hoping we get 30, 40, 50 disc golfers out there. If we
Mm-hmm.
get that many disc golfers out there just hunting thistle, like we'll just be just done, and there won't be any thistle out there,
Yeah.
and it'll only take 4 hours out of our time. So you can find that registration on Disc Golf Scene and all the
Yep.
information you need to get there. Um,
Yeah, I just showed these guys the link and where to find it. So.
yeah, really hoping for that, and then. I do want to talk about West Jordan. There's some
Yeah.
big things happening out in West Jordan. Uh, they went, this isn't approved yet, but they went after a regional asset tier grant to build a disc golf course at the end of 7800 South, um, and on about, I think it's a property of about 55 acres. It's called Sycamore Open Space. And we'll know in June if their grant funding is secured. But they're going after the what's called the regional asset tier grant, and that's the highest level of grant that they can go after, and that tops out at 750K.
Mm-hmm.
So if they go after it with 750K, they get 750K from the state, and they got $1.5 million to install a course. Um, but that's because they have to make a parking lot, they have to make a road to the parking lot, and then
Mm-hmm.
they want to drop us a bathroom too. So if this thing
Sweet.
goes in, this thing will be one of the more premier places for us to play.
Sweet.
Um, so
And that's like west of the valley, right? Like the
yeah,
kind of opposite end of Creekside, essentially.
yeah. So it all of a sudden the the Daybreak and the Harriman and the South Jordan people are going to be in the spot where all the courses are.
Yeah.
Like there's a tectonic shift happening right now where Salt Lake and Murray has always been the hot spot, and it's just been barren from there all the way out to Art Die.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden like I'm in Sandy, so now all of a sudden I've got Dragonfly and I've got Bingham Creek Regional and I've got Draper and soon to be West Jordan. It's like I'll never have to go to Creekside again.
Yeah. Scott, we did have one more question for you. Um, we touched on it a little earlier, but you directing these tournaments, do you see yourself kind of still diving into that with Elevate Utah, or do you want to take a step back from that?
Well, it'll be at a much higher level. Uh, I haven't talked to a lot of people about this, but last year, uh, myself as well as some other people formed a local organizing committee, and we submitted a bid to bring the U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championship to Utah in 2025.
That was
So,
one of my questions as well. Is do you ever
Yes.
see Utah hosting a pro tour event?
so
So
we did that, and we put together a very compelling bid document that included Brighton as the place where we would want to see these women throw discs at,
Mm-hmm.
because we think that that's incredibly compelling and film's good and it has good cell service.
Yeah.
And then we'd put them at Creekside, we'd put them at Draper, um, and we'd put them at the Wonder. And we have an incredible amount of support from the Sports Tourism Office of Salt Lake County,
Mm-hmm.
Sports Salt Lake. They've been just incredibly supportive of us, and they're the ones who actually submitted the bid on our behalf. And we we've been talking about big things like having the opening ceremony and lighting the Olympic torch for it and stuff like that. So this is going to happen. We submitted the bid, and we scored perfectly on the bid scoring application. They have the same thing that we have for the grant scoring, where they have a
Yeah.
rubrics where they score everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we scored perfectly, except we lost full points on a scoring category called the pipeline score, and um, that's essentially, have we seen you before? have you ever submitted a bid to host a major before? Like,
Yeah.
have you ever done this? Like, do we know who you are? And it's either 0 points or 5 points, and we lost by 3 points. So we beat everybody out for the major. We lost to
Mhm.
Manitowoc, Wisconsin, and yeah, so we will be submitting the bid again for 2026, and we've been told by the PDGA that we will win because the bid was perfect, and
Awesome.
it
Awesome.
we will most likely be hosting U.S. Women's in 2026.
That's
That's amazing.
that's awesome, Scott. That is awesome.
Yeah, and we're gonna need all hands on deck to make it happen. We're gonna need so many volunteers, and thankfully we'll have plenty of men not playing that they
Yeah.
can volunteer. It's
Yeah.
probably a good one to get the most amount of volunteers because like what else are you gonna do, you know?
I'll
Well,
be
You're
that,
not.
and
I'll be there.
I think people just they like the idea behind it too, right? Like Worlds, again, going back to Worlds at the Fort. How many people went there that weren't disc golfers or were like the casual, like, might not go out and play, but like I don't mind watching it, or like this is kind of neat that it's coming here. And to have something of that caliber come to Utah, I think will draw everybody out, like from surrounding areas.
Yeah, and one of the main motivating reasons for wanting to do U.S. Women's is that we have such an awesome women's focused nonprofit here in Utah with Team Thunderpuss, and Katie's very involved with this. She's on the local organizing committee, and Team Thunderpuss would actually be the organization to put the event on, which would also be the organization to financially benefit the from the event. So it's just this awesome like synergy of inviting the women to come play disc golf in Utah
Yeah.
and putting a whole bunch of cash in a nonprofit that is going to buy a bunch of women into tournaments. So it's it's an awesome synergy of stuff, and I really hope that we can make it work. And it's one of the reasons why I don't want to run a ton of tournaments because it's like I don't want to burn myself out before that,
Mhm.
and I think that once I do that, I think that I'll be done running tournaments. I we saw the same thing with Jade when Worlds was done, where he was just kind of like, okay, I did it. What else am I going to do now?
Mhm.
And I kind of feel the same thing with me when it comes to running tournaments. Is like the amount of energy and passion to get to the point where you pull something like that off. I think is is only sustainable to continue doing it if you have a strong local organizing committee at your back and pushing it along. And we don't really have that in Utah because we lost it after Team Utah kind of went away,
Yeah.
or Team Utah Open went away. So we need to get back in the habit and get back to practicing that. But I don't want to lead it forever.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do one, and if whoever's on the local organizing committee wants to do another one, then let's do it. You know?
Yeah. Totally. Do you see yourself like let's say 2026 comes around, women's goes really well. We have these courses in. Do you see yourself putting a bid in for another world title or if the courses are up to standards of that pro level? Could we see a pro level tour or event out here?
I'd really love to get these guys back here, but I don't think I necessarily want to challenge them at the fort.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of one of my sticking points is that it feels like the community wants them to come back at the fort to go to the fort,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels like the internet wants everyone to come back here and go to the fort. I want them in the mountains.
Yeah.
It's like the fort is a cool course, but it's not Utah. Everyone keeps calling it Texas golf.
Yeah.
It's like we're Utah. We need to be in the mountains.
Yeah.
And if these disc golfers are too much pansies to come play in the mountains, then maybe we don't want them.
Yeah.
It's I think Ian and I have talked about that in the past about like our pro tour. If a pro tour came out, it would have to be in the mountains at like Brighton or Solitude or the Wonder kind of thing. And I don't know how pros would take that just because they don't play on any courses like that throughout the season ever almost.
Well, boo
Um,
hoo.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I'm just
right.
saying, like,
Yeah, it's like
it
who
would throw
cares?
like a whole new thing at people of like, oh, you have a 750-foot par three. How is that possible? And it's
Right.
like, yeah, you're throwing a putter downhill. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And it'll be interesting to see what Chaz does with Brighton this year. I
Mm-hmm.
know that he's got some changes to be made, and he's aware of what we're wanting to do here. And he's involved with this major bid, um, and so it'll be really cool to see what he comes up with. I think the current design of the course would fit perfect for the women,
Mm-hmm.
and his long term vision for those gold tee pads. Every now and then I'm up there with him and he points them out, and I'm just like, "Fuck you, bro." Like, I'm not. It's not a par four for me.
Yeah, it's par six for some of us. So cool, Scott. I think that's all we have. Would you like to say anything else? Promote yourself all you want.
Well, uh, I got to raise a lot of cash for a lot of things. And so I would just like to say that if you like what we're up to, I think the best way of supporting Elevate Utah is probably through the Patreon. We've got some pretty good sustaining members on there. You don't get a ton for your value other than knowing that you're a Patreon member.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I can really give you special things. Maybe I can. I don't know. We'll see how many we get. And if any of you guys are listening, please go support the Patreon. Make a one-time donation on the website. Buy some discs. I've got some Discraft discs coming in the next couple weeks too. So I've got I've got a new design coming,
Cool.
a new David Weaver that's not been seen yet. So um, that's coming out. So really, just go to the socials, subscribe there, come out to the cleanup days. Just in people always ask how do I get involved, and I always say involve yourself.
I love that. I really do love that. It's awesome. So, Scott, thank you so much. I will see you Saturday. I'm gonna go sign up for that as soon as me and Dave are done here. We got a little more to talk about, but I can't wait to go check out that course and walk it. So,
Cool,
can I
cool.
bring
All right, well,
discs, or you just
yeah, bring them. I mean, we probably won't be popping it up. We were planning on it, but it sounds like they're going to be digging all the holes for the
okay?
for the pin sleeves, and there's 54, 55 pin sleeves out there, just like Creekside.
Yeah,
So we don't necessarily want people like filling the holes in by stepping around them, or
yeah,
it's a construction zone. So
yeah.
I think we'll respect that and just throw discs there when we're done. But you might as well bring them, you
Sweet.
know. But I don't think we'll be setting up any baskets. I think probably someone will bring a basket and you can go hole by hole, but I'm not popping the whole thing up.
That's totally fine. So, cool. Well, Scott, thank you so much for joining us. It'll be up tomorrow. I'll text you after we're done here, and
Cool.
thanks for joining, man. That was amazing.
Yeah, thanks guys. That was fun.
yeah,
It's truly,
always great to hear what's going on and
Yeah,
know
a lot of stuff.
what's happening in the community.
A lot of stuff.
yeah, love to hear it. So, cool. Well, if you want to sign off, I'll let you sign off. Me and
All
Dave
right.
have probably another 30 minutes of talking to do. So,
Take care, guys.
sweet. Thank you,
Thanks,
Scott.
man.
Holy shit.
Dude, I didn't
Please.
know how much he had going on.
Holy shit. I thought, like, I knew he was busy, man. I didn't know he was that busy. Holy shit. I gotta promote this guy more and more and more. Where am I? You guys, please go register for this. I'm gonna register for it as soon as we are done here. Um, Death to Thistle, Earth Day celebration, 9 to 1. Bring gloves, long pants. Can I pull this up? There it is. Oh, please go sign up for this. Like, if you're in Utah, if you can spare a Saturday, that would be absolutely amazing. Um, I will be there for sure. Um, dude, holy crap.
It's amazing to hear everything with like that he's got with Elevate Utah, what Ben's trying to do with another round. I mean, Dead Outside Disc Golf's also like throwing fundraiser events that we're playing doubles in
Yeah,
next month. Like so much going on this year. It's
dude.
amazing to see everything.
I like have tears in my eyes almost because of like how excited I am. Like I had no idea about. I knew about the Draper course, um, but dude, that was like I'm
U.S.
actually,
women's.
dude, I'm so excited. I'm gonna. Oh my gosh,
Heck yeah, dude.
I'm so excited. Okay, so our regular scheduled program is gonna have to be cut very short this week. We're still gonna talk about some stuff. Let me pull up my notes here. Um, we're gonna skip. We're gonna skip all this, Dave. This is all for next week. We're gonna talk about it next week. Let's go to Jonesboro, shall we?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me pull up my web browser. Jonesboro. Let's start with FPO because
Okay. Let's start out with the less interesting.
okay, no, not the less interesting.
I mean, Kristen's back, baby.
Kristen's back. Holy, can let's just go to final round. She beat Holland Hanley by 9 strokes, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm gonna give credit to Holland here. Her back nine was a lot better than her front nine. But round two, I think it was no
Yeah, round
round
2, she had a big round.
round two. She had an awesome round. Evelina eagled, right? Yeah, eagled hole
Hmm.
four. Round one. I mean, Kristen was just playing like it's Kristen Tatar again. Final round, I would say she slowed down a little bit. Um, but
A little
she's
bit windier on the last day.
yeah, but she still had a great day of disc golf. Um, I did.
It was funny watching a little bit of the live coverage, just hearing the commentators try to make drama where there was no like it's like, oh, I don't know if between Holland and Evelina mostly,
Yeah,
but they're like, oh, hole 17, Kristen makes the birdie putt to lock up the win, and it's like, dude, she was like 10 strokes ahead.
yeah.
Like,
Um, and like I watched a little bit of FPO, which I don't normally do. I watch enough to talk about it, and I actually enjoyed watching FPO because not only because of Kristen, but the Holland Hanley and Evelina fight that was kind of going on. I mean, those two were playing really good disc golf, and it was fun to see someone other than Kristen play good disc golf. Right? Day one, definitely a little boring. Day two, we had Emily Beach shoot 6 under, Holland shot 10 under, Kristen shot 8 under, Evelina 3 under, like very respectable. We had Sylvia Sarinen.
so,
Do you know how to say that?
yeah, you're close. I think it's like Saarinen.
Sarinen shoot 8 under. A lot of ladies playing really well, which I was really happy to see. And then going into the final round, we had Kristen shoot 4 under. If Holland put together a good round like she did round two, she could have been in the mix. Um, Maria Olivia shot 6 under. Eliza Mid. I'm not even gonna try. That 18-year-old girl who's just
Hmm.
crushing it. She shot 6 under the final round. Um, FPO was fun to watch this week.
Yeah. I like watching it on established courses like that just because it gives me an idea of like if I went out and played around, like
Yeah,
what would it look like kind of thing.
yeah,
Um, but super fun to watch. Just Kristen playing good golf again. I feel like she didn't really lose it the last couple weeks, right? Like
hmm
a couple people just kind of stepped up and played absolutely amazing golf.
I would agree.
And that's kind of what was happening the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I think Kristen finally like she showed up again, right? She's shown up
Hmm.
the past few events, but this week she showed up and she showed that she not only can win but she can dominate. Which I think the
Hmm.
past few weeks we've seen the mentality or the disc version of Kristen where she's not dominant, but she's like, I'm eager to win. I'm not eager to dominate, and we saw other people eager to dominate that event, right?
Yep.
So very interesting. I had a great time watching. Um, moving on, MPO. Let's do it. MPO.
Exciting final day.
Okay, hold on. People, did you watch the live coverage? Because I did. I sure did, Dave. Did you?
I was not able to watch it live. I was unfortunately working, but
Um,
I went back and watched the coverage today.
okay. Live, I watched it the back nine of the final round again today. They did not hype it up at all for what it could have been. They didn't hype it up at all. Um, Ben Callaway was in the lead basically until hole 17. He was playing out of his mind. Wait, am I thinking of the yeah? And 17 he decides to par, and 18 he bogeys. Dude, watching that live in the shop with 8 to 12 other disc golfers in the shop, like bets were going down with discs, right? I already said this, but if Ezra wins, I'm buying 2 discs. I was not kidding. I was so hyped that Ezra was so close to winning, and it felt like that final round, no one wanted to win, and then Anthony Barella decided, hole 13, I'm winning this. And what does he do? Birdie, eagle, birdie, birdie, par to win the thing.
I was watching the coverage afterwards, and it looked so windy out there.
Mm-hmm.
So many people. Simon had the putting woes real early, where he could hit everything but the bottom of the basket.
Yeah.
With his putts. So it was nice seeing that lead card again, though. Like AB, Calvin, Simon, and Isaac Robinson all on the lead card, and you're watching that going. Any one of you could absolutely dominate this round.
Yeah. I think Calvin had a really good opportunity. Hole 10.
He was also in the lead at one point.
He was. Hole 10, he had an unfortunate double bogey. His tee shot, early left. His outshot went about 4 feet before it hit another tree. I think if Calvin fixes that mistake, I think we see Calvin win or a playoff with AB or Ben Callaway. I mean, that was some fun disc golf to watch. Jonesboro never disappoints. That was so fun.
Dude,
Anthony Barilla,
that,
is this 3 on the season?
3.
Yeah.
Number 3. He's also I saw a stat that was like there's only like 3 or 4 other players in history to win the first 3 out of 5 tournaments.
Do you know who those other 3 are?
I believe it is Ricky,
Okay.
Paul,
Yep.
and Will Strustrick, maybe.
Sure.
There's one other person I can't think of who the last one is.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Dude, all I gotta say is, if this man right here won that event, another round would be a lot richer than they are right now because of me and one other person. Ed, can you please bring one home for me? I'd be so happy. Dude, that was this whole season. Besides the one event, has been fun disc golf to watch. But that was peak disc golf. It was better than the Masters. The Masters was as boring as anything could be. This was fun disc golf to watch. It came down to the last hole. There was drama, everything. I freaking loved it. It was good disc golf too. It wasn't bad disc golf drama. It was good disc golf drama. Whew! All right, I'm gonna shut up for a little bit.
Yeah, man. I loved watching that. AB's putt looks so good. I forget what hole it was. I saw him just 80-foot putt turned into a 50-foot comebacker, just sailed it and just stepped up right in the center of the basket, center chains. Like, he's not messing around. He's not worried about missing or throwing sideways. He's just making his putts and hitting his lines. It's incredible to watch.
It really is. It is entertaining disc golf right now. It is really entertaining.
I was hoping Albert Tam would be on the lead card too, so you could break out the bazooka.
Dude, who are you taking off though?
Oh, I'm not taking anybody off that lead card.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah. I just wanted to see the bazooka come out at some point during the round.
We have a very important thing to say. Wade and Sides weighed in sides. Did you guys see this? This dude, two different days, same disc, same hole, splash, ace.
When you sent me that clip, I thought it was just his form and everything looked exactly the same both
Mm-hmm.
shots. I thought it was just two different angles.
No,
I didn't realize it was 2 days in a row.
2 days in a row that he made that shot. I I couldn't do that if my life depended on it.
Give me 1,000 tries, I'm not acing that hole.
You had ace it once. 1,000? You got someone bringing discs back and forth to you, 1,000? I think you get at least one.
I still don't think I'm acing that hole.
I think you at least hit metal a few times. Give yourself some credit, Dave. You're a good disc golfer.
Yeah, but 2 days back to back tournament setting, that's
Very different.
yeah. That's insane.
Dude, that's crazy. Is there anything we wanted to talk about other than that? Oh,
We got to do special disc of the week.
yeah, that. Before that, AB, congrats, bro. That was really good disc golf those final few holes. I really enjoyed watching that. Congrats, AB. Number 3 on the season. How many do you think AB goes? So what? He's at. Someone do math for me. What's percentage wise? How many has AB won?
Well, he's won 3 out of 5, right?
Yeah. What's 3 out of 5? I can't do math.
I mean, it's like 60%.
Yeah. Do we see AB winning 60% of all of the
No, God, no.
No? Okay.
I think there's too many other tournaments that not necessarily don't play to his style, but allow for that same kind of like high tension, a lot of people fighting for the win kind of style of disc golf.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't foresee anybody really running away with any of the tournaments this year.
Yeah.
I think he probably gets another win, but I don't know that he gets a major.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I think too many people play a little bit differently for the majors. Like, Paul Macbeth when he was in his prime, he could lose every tournament, but the second Worlds came around, it was lights out.
Yeah. Very fair. Very fair. I could agree with that. I think we see Calvin come away with a major this year. I mean, he's shown he can win in the past. Can he fix that elbow and win now? I also think if he is throwing forehands, he wins that tournament just because of the poop hole he was in on hole 10 in the final round.
There was a couple holes I saw him throw a backhand on that I was like, that's not normally your play.
I think he's still dealing with an elbow injury for forehand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, disc of the week. It was gonna be a special someone, but that special someone will have to wait until something special happens. My disc of the week this week. I'm gonna pop myself full screen, Dave, so these people can see it.
Do it up.
Wraith, baby. I am a big fan of Wraiths. I bagged 2 Wraiths. I really bagged 3 Wraith molds, but one's not technically a Wraith. I love these things. I really like Inva's new I Die or whatever they call it champion colorway. It's a little stable until you beat it in. This one's beat in nicely. It's kind of a backup right now though. Or if I know it's gonna be windy, I'm throwing this in the bag. Garrett Girthy, Halo Wraith. I love these things, man. This is like a go-to distance driver for me. Put on a little hyzer, it's gonna flip up to flat, maybe a tiny bit of turn, controllable, reliable finish. Flat, it's going to have a nice straight little turn, reliable finish, and even Annie. I don't throw a lot of Annie shots, but the few I have thrown with these, it's going to hold, pan out right at the very end. I love Wraiths. They are my favorite distance driver right now. I am looking at some other ones, but I just haven't found something that I love as much as these discs. They're amazing. So.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I'm finally retiring Birdie Sanders, the Blizzard Wraith that I got during my first tournament at Creekside.
We got him out of the tree.
We got him out of the tree, and I think he needs to go into retirement because I now have a replacement for him. So
Yeah. I have
out of the bag.
I have these two. I have a backup star wraith. I have another champion wraith hanging on my wall that I don't think I'll ever throw. It may be one day, just not right now. Maybe I need to try it again because when I first threw it, it was a beefcake. I have 2 star wraiths in my bag, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I have 7 or 8 wraiths laying around. I love this mold. So
Heck yeah.
cool. Dave, anything for the people?
New hoodies at Another Round Salt Lake are out. They are super comfortable. I absolutely love this thing, dude. I've been wearing it like nonstop since I got it.
I haven't gotten one yet. I'm waiting for my hat.
Jerseys will hopefully be in soon.
Yeah, jerseys and hats will be in this week. I know there's a event next weekend, right? Pro Tour event.
Yes.
I'm like 99% sure there is. If you guys want to, I was there Saturday and Sunday. Dave was there with me Saturday. We went to another round, and Ben has live coverage of everything. He has DGP Disc Golf Network Pro, whatever it is. And we got to watch all the live coverage. Sunday was awesome. We had like 10 people there. I think at one point we actually had like 10 to 15 people in there watching and just hanging out. It was super fun. So hopefully I'll see you guys there this week. Actually, no, you won't see me there at all this, especially Sunday. I will not be there Sunday. If you don't know what Sunday is,
You're not from Utah.
you're not from Utah and you do not ski in Little Cottonwood Canyon. So, if you are from Utah and you do ski in Little Cottonwood Canyon, be safe this weekend. Don't do anything stupid. If you see me, come say hi. I will be wearing a full pineapple suit. So, heads up.
And I will be standing next to him.
Dude, maybe we bring a disc and a basket up just to fuck around in the parking lot.
Ooh, yes.
We
definitely should do
Don't
that.
tempt me. Oh, fuck.
We definitely should. But only like glitches so that way if we hit a car, it's not like the end of the world.
Yeah. Or some, like, soft trash panda putters.
Yeah, intercourse.
Yeah, I got some intercourse laying around. Cool. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this week. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. Scott, thank you for coming on. That was super fun, and we will see you guys next time.
Thanks, everyone.